The Bengals have added in the trenches. We'll react to day one of Bengals free agency and much, much more right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome into a special live edition of Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. You can catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on the YouTube channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk, weekly on FanDuel Sports Network. Also, we're part of the Big Play Network and brought to you by Garage Beer. And I get it. If you're joining us live right now, well, you probably need about 10 garage beers. And I totally do, especially in this weather. You get that lime garage beer. It's that's what these moments are for, Andrew Fox Miller.
No doubt about it. And we're not saying because of free agency. We're not going to say that, James. That's not why we need garage
I'm talking
beer.
about the weather.
Free agency.
It's about the weather. This is top-down weather.
I know.
This is buy the drop top in the Cincinnati Bengals Talk Mobile and put that top down. That's what that is type of weather. Look, we have a lot to discuss when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, things are very, very fluid, and maybe you're watching this on FanDuel Sports Network on Friday. But things are going to change this week. They're going to evolve, and that's why I highly encourage you to subscribe right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. The YouTube channel. So let's dive into it here. On Monday, the Bengals agreed to terms with TJ Slayton, Oren Burks, Joseph Osai, BJ Hill, Samaje Perine, and on Tuesday, Marco Wilson. We'll throw in Mike Gesicki as well. They signed him before the negotiating window opened on Monday, and it was official on Monday, like right as the negotiating window opened. Of those 7, and it's 7 now if I include Gesicki, what's your favorite, Andrew Fox Miller?
Man, I feel like I'm debating between a couple of like B's. If we're talking about letter grades, right? I'm not giving a final grade or anything. I'm just saying like there's nothing that I'm like home run. And it's probably for me, you threw in Gesicki, and that makes it a little complicated. I'd say maybe it's a tie between, it's close, Gesicki and Osai. It's really difficult for me. I think Gesicki was first of all a little bit surprising. Like I wasn't ever very confident that they'd re-sign him. The surprise factor alone, I think, bumps it to B for me. I mean, strong contributors, receiver, obviously, and they don't necessarily need to get better at tight end. I would love for them to get better though. But compared to everything else right now, I feel a lot better about tight end because of Gesicki. And that alone gives me some sort of comfort level that I desperately need during free agency that maybe gives me a little edge for Gesicki. No pun intended.
Let's be honest here. None of these moves are that exciting.
Right.
And that's it. Now, the Gesicki move, certainly a really good player, someone that's going to help their passing game. So you could go that route, and I get it. And we know you love receivers. Oh, wait, no, that's me. That's what Mike Gesicki is. He's a big receiver, helps Joe Burrow, makes sense. Glad they kept him. But my favorite signing so far is the one that no one knew. I would say maybe 1% of our viewers total this week knew who TJ Slayton was before the Bengals signed TJ Slayton or agreed to terms with TJ Slayton. This is a home run signing. It's a home run signing because they went all of last season without a nose tackle, without a big-bodied guy that could take on double teams and eat in the AFC North. TJ Slayton is 330 pounds. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's going to be the giant in the middle of the Bengals defense that you need in the North, that you need in these big games, that you need against the Commanders to force them into a third in something other than one. That's what you need. And it's not flashy. It's not going to lead to a bunch of touchdowns. You're not going to notice it. It's going to be a guy that really should go under the radar. You're hoping you don't hear a lot about him because usually when you have a good nose tackle, he's eating the double teams and he's freeing up the BJ Hills of the world to make the play. And so for me, it's TJ Slayton. Now, you look at his projections from a contract standpoint, they had to pay a little bit more. I don't care. This was a need. I got to have it. And so 2 years, $15.1 million. I'm fine with that. Again, not flashy, not splashy, But if I'm looking at this list and I'm looking at TJ Slayton and Oren Burks and Joseph Osai and BJ Hill and Samaje Perine and Marco Wilson, and I will include Mike Gesicki. I don't really know how you could hate any of them. I am going to be critical of one of them coming up in a bit, or at least have a concern about one of those signings coming up in just a bit. But to me, TJ Slayton makes the most sense here and is my favorite now that we're over 24 hours removed from most of these moves because the Bengals haven't done much yet so far on Tuesday.
Okay. You're warming me up a bit to the Slayton acquisition. I was fine with Slayton. I just wasn't super high on it. I understand the value of having him in the position that he's in. There's some upside there. It's an upward trajectory career-wise. Underappreciated position, you might even say. Mm-hmm. But I think, to be fair, adding Slayton made me think about the lack of pass rush. It reminds me about the lack of pass rush. And that's not TJ Slayton's fault, but I do think it maybe introduced a little bit of bias in acquiring them when they did before they really addressed getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks.
Sure. I get that. And it's one of the many things I think that we're going to cover in this show. We are just getting started here on a special edition, free agency edition of Enter the Jungle. We will discuss a big concern I have, and it might tie to what you just said, coming up next. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome in here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. This is a special live edition of Enter the Jungle. So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially film the episode here for FanDuel Sports Network. We'll interact with you. At the end of this show, we're going to take your comments, talk. We'll go live. Andrew will pop a garage beer, and we'll be less buttoned up. But right now, we're going to be buttoned up during the show. So just so you know, it's a 22-minute show. We're already one segment down, a few more to go. It's going to be free agency. The topics are going to be very evergreen. They're not going to be about what the Bengals could potentially do because it's for TV, just so you know. We will get into all of that coming up in just a bit. So if you're like, man, why the hell aren't they talking about Tevin Jenkins? We will. I promise we will.
And we see the chats. We see the questions. We appreciate the interaction. We will certainly be interacting with you. But it is going to seem a little odd because, yeah, like to James' point, we're going to do a segment. We're going to pause. We'll talk to you briefly, do another segment. When we're done with what we need to hand off to FanDuel for them to put on TV, we're going to kick back and have a big conversation with everyone in the chat. So appreciate, again, everyone being involved here because there's a lot of great stuff I'm already seeing. And I'm trying to mark, but we'll keep putting on our face for the TV.
Yeah, our face for the TV. They said you had a face for radio. I don't know what that means, but
that's why we went audio on Spotify, Apple, and
that's
Amazon.
Right. Look at you plugging, company man.
I knew it was future proofing the brand, James. We knew that cameras weren't going to be forever on us.
So we are going to get to all of your comments. Don't go anywhere. You can watch us do the show in like 15 minutes from now. We'll be done with the show part. It's all Bengals. It's all relevant to what you're thinking if you're joining us here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So thank you for being here. We're going to pick up here with a pretty big concern that
I'm looking at the rundown for the first time. Not going to lie, James.
Yeah, well,
I didn't realize I previewed the next segment.
Yeah, you did. That's why you made me toss to it. But it's okay. I'm a pro.
It worked. Give me. Yeah.
I make it work. I'm like Joe Burrow with bad guards. Zing. All right.
Ready.
Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for joining us. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk and weekly right here on FanDuel Sports Network. And Andrew, let's dive into a big concern. And you alluded to it there before the break. And I think when you look at this Bengals defensive front now, it's certainly much more complete. It feels more whole, I would say, when you look at it and you see BJ Hill, TJ Slayton. That's a solid 1-2 punch. And then behind them, you have McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins. And here's my concern. My concern is that when you bring back BJ Hill, and I really like BJ Hill, and I probably would have brought him back. So this isn't me bringing back BJ Hill, because I think he raises the floor of what you're going to be as a room. Where's the pass rush coming from? The Bengals need interior pass rush. That's why they signed Sheldon Rankins last year. They needed it. They knew they needed it. And I get it. Rankins didn't work out. It doesn't mean that interior pass rush isn't important. It's why everyone's worried about guard for Joe Burrow. It's why we've talked about that for 5 years of Joe Burrow's career. It is because interior pass rush can disrupt even the best quarterbacks. So I'm pretty concerned. Where's your level of concern at? Because for me, it's like, all right, well, you got to get a 3-tech somewhere. You got to get a pass rush defensive tackle that can give you consistent pass rush. And I'm not sure that McKinley Jackson or Chris Jenkins project to be that in year 2. And the way they're constructed, it feels like they're banking on it. You're muted, big head.
Good thing I'll be editing this in post. You're saying the same things that I've been saying and asking the same questions that I've had really since the start of free agency. I mean, do they, and maybe this is a question for you to try to get this going somewhere, because I feel like otherwise we're going to be talking in circles because I'm on the same boat. Do they trust like McKinley Jackson to take the next step? Chris Jenkins? Like there's so much stress that it adds to their need for some, like if anything, is adding stress to the edge right now, which Trey Hendrickson has had plenty of already. So, and by the way, Trey Hendrickson remains your like clear-cut asset right now. It adds stress at so many areas that I don't think it's messy. It's messy heading into the draft. If we stopped right now at the time of this recording, heading into the draft, I don't know what the solution is other than getting obviously help in free agency. But is there, I feel like it's just going to all be guys that they're going to have to see who's going to rise above and be that answer defensive tackle, no matter who do they take at this point in free agency, if at all.
Well, this is what's rough about it, is because you invested a 3rd-round pick in McKinley Jackson. You invested a 2nd-round pick in Chris Jenkins Jr. You're expecting to get more out of those guys. You bring back BJ Hill. He's going to start. And obviously you have a guy in TJ Slayton who's going to be active every single week and be a big part of what you're doing because he's your nose tackle. The problem is if you sign a 5th defensive tackle, which they should, I don't think they will, so much so that I don't think they will, that I'm comfortable saying that right now. And maybe they do by Thursday and this doesn't work. And you're watching this on Friday on FanDuel and you're like, man, James, what are you thinking? But if they do, and then they want to draft one, well, you're not carrying 6. You're certainly not having 6 defensive tackles active on game day. So that's where it gets hairy. My argument would be, who cares? My argument would be, you got to get pressure. My argument would be, if you had a proven veteran, fine. Usually these things figure themselves out in camp. And even if you take a defensive tackle at 17 that you think is going to be able to knife in there and hurt your or help your pass rush and hurt opposing quarterbacks and disrupt them, it's one of those things. You can't have enough of it. We saw it with the Eagles. You can't have enough interior pressure. And when you get it and you have guys that are just rotating in and out and in and out, and you have that depth, it really makes life tough on opposing quarterbacks. And so that's why I would go after the Calais Campbells of the world. One of these veterans that just makes sense and can fit and give you some pass rush. Malik Collins out of San Francisco, the 49ers are releasing him on Wednesday. Like someone like that I would go after, because that's my big concern about this defensive front right now. And if their plan, and I do think their plan is, oh, well, we'll address it. It's a good draft for interior pass rushers. We'll address it in the draft. It's a lot of pressure, pun intended, to put on a rookie's shoulders.
You know, one thing I've also noticed so far, again, as of this recording, in free agency, they've emphasized familiarity, right? Obviously, they're bringing back players they know, and they're bringing in players. We talked about TJ Slayton and his familiarity, in this case with Jerry Montgomery. It does make me wonder. I haven't gone back and looked at the whole tree, but are there free agents out there with familiarity still in the case of the defensive line? Is there anyone out there for Jerry Montgomery that might have a sight set on that is maybe somewhat under the radar? I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah, it is. It is. I really, no names come to mind, but that would be the path too, is trying to find someone. People are going to say Larry Ogunjobi. I'm not sure Larry Ogunjobi has the juice you're looking for. I think Malik Collins does. He had like the 7th highest pass rush win rate. Can't run defend at all. He would be one of those hired guys. You're hiring him to hit opposing quarterbacks. All right, sign me up. And I'm not sure the Bengals want that one-dimensional of a player. I wouldn't care. because you need pressure. And I think that pressure is really, really important. All right. From the defensive front to the secondary in a key piece, a key veteran that was probably a cut candidate coming into the offseason. It looks like he's going to hang around. Is that the right move? We'll get to that coming up next. Hey, everyone, over 2,000 of you in here. A lot of you were in here during our last break. Just so you know, that's Andrew. I'm James. We're recording Enter the Jungle. We're going to be done in like 10-ish minutes, and then we're going to answer all of your questions. Basically, what we're doing is recording our show now and doing it live because there's no way we'd be able to record it and make it evergreen, even though it would have been today because they haven't done anything yet, even though the clock is ticking. That being said, we'll answer all of your questions after this. We have like 8 to 10 minutes or so, and then we'll get to Tevin Jenkins. We'll get to Bengals free agency. We'll get to why they haven't made any moves today and go from there. So just so you know, buckle up. We're going to get to your questions. Put them in the chat, but we just have to finish our show that gets sent to FanDuel Sports Network and runs on FanDuel every single week.
I'm now looking at your rundown again, James. So
keep your mic on, loser. Goodness.
I know.
Muted.
I know. I think I coughed and I hit mute and
amateur.
And then, yeah. Hey, wait, this is behind the scenes. This is what we go through when we actually record it. To be honest, it's happened.
It's fair.
When James is on the wrong mic and I don't say anything for the first segment, and he gets mad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm on my AirPods. It's pretty darn noticeable. AirPods to freaking the studio mic with a mix. Anyways, all right.
Yeah. Again, we'll be getting to questions here in a moment. We got a couple more really short segments to record, and we're gonna.
Yeah, these are the short segments. All downhill from here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go from buttoned up to not buttoned up and get to your questions. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien, and a veteran Andrew that I thought was a cut candidate, that I thought might be a trade candidate. I mentioned that on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I think he's back. I think Geno Stone is going to return for a second season. The Bengals could move on from him, save $6.5 million in cap space. I think they're going to hang on to him this year, and he's going to be penciled in as a starter alongside Jordan Battle. Who knows what happens in the draft? But if Geno Stone is that guy and the other veteran in the room alongside Jordan Battle and Tyson Anderson, Dejon Anthony, I'll throw him in there. But I do think they'll consider drafting a safety. But how do you feel about a starting safety tandem of Jordan Battle and Geno Stone?
With Geno Stone, I thought, he was a very real, of course, cut candidate. Still is. But I'm okay with a player that we had very high hopes for heading into the 2024 season. Now with a new defensive coordinator, things may be different. I'm willing. A few people can have a redemption tour on this team. And I know the position really needs a solid foundation, but there are going to be times where, of course, as a fan, but looking at this team from the outside in, like, okay, Al Golden, you're going to have a few of these that you're just going to, pound your fists on the table for some of these players. And if Geno Stone's one of them, okay, Al, I'm fine with that. If that's truly the case, I'll trust his vision, because what can we do at this point as a brand new defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think you know how I feel. And honestly, I just, he had, in his defense, he had 81 tackles last year, 6 passes defense, 4 interceptions. I just don't necessarily see it. I also think that you can only create so many holes. You only have so many draft picks, so many dollars to go around. And I do understand that. But man, $6.5 million that you could save, that's just a lot that you could put elsewhere or use at safety. I mean, the safety market really wasn't as booming as some people thought. Not that they were ever going to go big safety hunting, big fish safety hunting in free agency. But overall, I like Jordan Battle, and I think that giving him consistent playing time makes sense. Geno, it's a risk. I get it, but I want to note it right now. I want to earmark it that it's a risk. Because if he's missing tackles week 3 and taking bad angles week 3 and not making an impact on the back end, and I get it, he had some interceptions at the end of the year, but man, it's going to be tough. So we'll see. But Al Golden, it's not like he just completely ignored Geno Stone, right? Like when Scott Peters was asked about Alex Kapp at the combine, you knew Scott Peters said, yeah, we'll work with Alex. And that was it. And Capel was cut like less than a week later. And so I do wonder what Al Golden can get out of Geno Stone, but I'm not optimistic, put it that way. I think that this is a position you certainly need to address in the draft. And hopefully you can get a guy that can come in and play for you right away if you need him to.
I understand the concern, and it's definitely a risk. I'm concerned, to be clear. However, it does feel like we talk about there's a theme of familiarity with who they're bringing back in currently. There's also a bit of a theme of, oh, you came on fairly strong at the end of last season. Well, now you got your ticket. Or now we're going to put our trust in you and hope that we can somehow continue that momentum. I don't know that it's the right strategy, but that's kind of what I'm observing. And Geno Stone, to your point, he may qualify if that is the qualifier. Again, risky. And I understand there's more costs associated with Geno Stone than a lot of these younger players that were coming on towards the end of the season that I'm referring to, but here we are.
Yeah, I think it's a risk. It could work out. If he has 7 interceptions, tackles better, and is just a solid safety back there, boom, that's fine. You'll take it all day long. Need to see it. And we will certainly see it this year. I do think Geno Stone will be back, barring something really unforeseen, and will be penciled in as a starter. Andrews had a big concern. Full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, a big concern for like 2 off seasons. And I think the Bengals addressed it more so than he realizes in free agency. We'll get to that coming up next. Man, almost 3,000 people watching. Just a heads up, we have one more segment left of Enter the Jungle. That's why we're in show mode. After that, we're going to get into Bengals conversation mode, answer comments mode. They can't see my hands right now. Bengals conversation mode, answer questions mode, all of the things that we normally do on these live streams. So if you're wondering about Tevin Jenkins, Bengals free agency, all of those things, one more segment, 4-ish minutes.
At most.
At most.
The shortest.
It's our weekly. Yeah, but I've been keeping track of time. It's our weekly show that we do here every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. And then it runs and airs throughout the Cincinnati area and throughout Ohio on FanDuel Sports Network. Just so you guys know why we're doing it this way. We had to go live this week because there's just no way with the fluidity that is Bengals free agency. And I'm still looking. I'm still wondering if anything's going to happen. And
I know. This is a bit of a social break here. We got to double check, make sure there's no updates. But
no,
I'm
we're
assuming
good.
No.
We're good.
Okay.
I checked.
You got all your notifications turned on, right?
Well, yeah, I'm looking down constantly, so it's going to look really good on FanDuel.
It's all right. All right.
There's a mosquito in my house.
Again, for those joining, last segment we're going to record. Then we're going to address a lot of comments here. I've been starring some, and I've seen sort of the super chats. We'll be sure to get to those. This is the shortest part, and then we're done, and we hand this off to FanDuel Sports Network, and they'll put it on TV, which is cool.
Got it. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Over 3,000. We're going to get to all of your comments coming up in just a minute here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, but final segment coming your way in 3. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. And Andrew, full disclosure, Andrew has been so worried, so concerned, so honestly, you've lost sleep over it for sure, about the Bengals cornerback room. Lost sleep. I think you wake up in the middle of the night sometimes in a cold sweat thinking about the cornerbacks. Obviously, you have Cam Taylor-Britt coming off of a down year, DJ Turner coming off of an injury that isn't as serious as Dax Hill's, but still, he didn't end the season on the field. He ended it on injured reserve. Same thing with Dax Hill. You have young guys, DJ Ivy, guys like that. And yet, I look at this, and I think, at least I think, that the Bengals made a smart signing, re-signing in Marco Wilson. What was your reaction when they re-signed Marco Wilson? And then I'm going to give you a little tidbit that I heard from someone within the Bengals organization.
Okay. Full disclosure, to go with what you just said, full disclosure, James hands me a rundown before we get on here. Hey, here's what we're going to talk about. Obviously, we go down the list. I looked at it right before I started, and it just says surprise. So
it's a surprise. Did you think anything of Marco Wilson? Be honest. The answer is no. So say
other than no, revisiting who he was, what he's done, the Cowboys game, all that. Yeah.
Yes. The Cowboys game. That's good to mention.
Right.
Because
but I wasn't putting surprise on a rundown as a placeholder for his signing.
No, the reason I mention this is because I do think the Bengals are bullish on what he, a former 4th-round pick, he's 26 years old, can bring to them this year. He said, I talked to someone that was like, we used him on CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Calvin Ridley down the stretch in December, in key moments, and we won all 3 of those games. And I think it's interesting because when you look at it that way, it's like, oh, like you were that confident in this guy that you could put him on those guys, and they were. I don't think he's going to start. That's not what I'm saying. But when the cornerback room comes up, I do think that like the depth part of it's discussed and is brought up. I didn't mention Josh Newton either, by the way.
That's right.
But they feel pretty darn good about the youth they have at that position. I'm not saying Marco Wilson's a star. I just think it was an interesting comment. They were like, just so you know, we were like, yeah, go guard CeeDee Lamb in this moment, in this situation. He didn't give up a touchdown to CeeDee Lamb. Go guard Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was pretty meh against the Bengals, and I didn't look at his numbers, but I don't think he did much. Calvin Ridley, I don't remember him doing much. So I thought it was an interesting point because you see Marco Wilson, no one thinks anything of it, and I get it. He joined the Bengals midseason last year, but the Bengals, at least some people in the building were excited about getting him back because they think that there's something there. Will it ever come to fruition? I don't know, but I thought that would ease your mind a little bit because I know you're really, really concerned about corner.
Yeah. Oh, I thought what you're saying is encouraging. Great. Some upside, perhaps. It's the same thing I thought about a lot of the corners that we had going into the 2024 season. So here we are going through it again. I hope you're right. But it also feels like a slippery slope, a bit dangerous to rest on one's laurels if that's your strategy and hope that everything's just going to come together like they did in many ways at many positions last season. But I will try to take the optimistic road here and go with what you're saying. I'll be keeping an eye.
You know what that person also said? Heck yes, I want a corner. Heck yes, I want another corner. So you never know what's going to happen. He's Andrew Fox-Miller. I'm James Rapien. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk. And until next time, thank you so much for watching Enter the Jungle.
All right, we're still going. We're still going. We're not leaving.
We're not going anywhere.
That was just a package for TV. Now we're here. We're going to look at comments.
Yeah. Do
Chat,
all that.
Let me know, acknowledge that you understood what we were doing throughout that entire exercise. I see a lot of great questions and comments, but I didn't see a lot of people. I did see one, by the way. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if they're still here, but yeah, the comment, this is cool. You should do this every show. I think what they mean by that is we pre-record Enter the Jungle, and then we put out the 22 minutes. And I know it's 22 minutes. I have to be under 22 minutes when we hand it off to FanDuel Sports Network, but we don't really do this live very often. And to James' point earlier, it does give us an opportunity to be as up to date as possible when we hand it off, what I end up editing. But on the flip side, I got to edit this thing and have it out. Like I'll have to have this done tonight, but yeah. So
yeah,
anyway,
that's a good way to put it, but get your questions in. Let's start Bengals free agency. It's been uneventful. If I'm them and I have been told, yeah, I could say that. That's fine. I'm just trying to think. I've hinted around it on BengalsTalk.com. The Bengals are interested in Tevin Jenkins, and we'll see what happens there. But they're interested in him, and can they find a way to get it done? That's the big question. And I think there are multiple other teams interested. I was told the Giants and the Seahawks are also interested, and so where does it go? I'm not sure. I do know that the Bengals. It's not like they're winning a bunch of bidding wars in their history when it comes to guards. But you look at Tevin Jenkins and what he would bring from an age standpoint, from a production standpoint, and I would be interested in that because you might be buying the best years of his career moving forward, and that's what you want, and that's where that's why I think the Bengals are interested as is. So that's probably one of many questions and topics. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest. He just turned 27. He started 45 or 38 games, played in 45 games for the Bears, and I do think he's an ascending player. So the Bengals definitely interested. We'll see if they can get it done.
I'm only flashing this up because it does apply to what you're saying right now. Are there happenings behind the scenes that you have?
Yeah, Chris, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Inside info, but can't yet.
I mean, that's one for sure. I think from what I'm hearing, they're obviously in on the guard market. The guard market hasn't really moved today outside of Will Fries, and that was a freeze. It was a ridiculous deal. The 5-year, $88 million that he got from Minnesota was just insane. Like if the Bengals did that, I would have been critical of that, not the other way, critical of it. And you'd say, oh, well, protecting Joe Burrow is important, but that's funny money. It's ridiculous. So we'll see, but clearly they're in on guard. I think it's just one. Like I think they just want one guard. There's your behind the scenes thing. We'll see if it's two. I would go two. Like I would go Tevin and Kevin. Tevin Jenkins, Kevin Zeitler. That's what I would do. And that would be Tevin Jenkins would play left guard, Kevin Zeitler would play right guard, and Tevin and Kevin would protect Joe, and away we go. Right. That would be my mindset. I would have it up on the board at Paycor Stadium, and that's what it would be. Now, I will say when it comes to Tevin Jenkins, I don't know what the offers are, but that's where it gets interesting. Obviously, the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender. The Seahawks, I would not consider a Super Bowl contender. The Giants, I would not consider the Super Bowl contender, but they are in the running for Aaron Rodgers. And so if those are the teams, and there might be other teams, it's not like I know exactly what's going on. Free agency is weird. So if the Bengals are close, you want them to close it, to get it done. And so that's what I would say there. The other thing that concerns me, I'm not sure that the Bengals are going to do what I said with the Tevin and Kevin. I think they may just go one guard, and then also they may not add another defensive lineman or defensive tackle, until the draft. And I just don't like that. I want some pass rush. I talked about it on Enter the Jungle. I want some proven pass rush. And this idea that you have to worry about game day in April is ridiculous. Get the best players. Usually that stuff solves itself. McKinley Jackson last year gets hurt in camp. You don't have to worry about it now. So from a roster construction standpoint, do you have pass rush or do you not? If you're just banking on one rookie to bring it, that seems like a tough ask. And tough ask because even if you get that pick right, it's a rookie. There's going to be some growing pains. You're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. So that's where I'm at there. So there's a couple behind the scenes tidbits that I think are interesting.
You know, I noticed it was interesting on Bengals.com. Jeff Hobson, he had published an article this morning, Tuesday morning. You were talking about guard, what you think they're going to be doing. And he did talk to Cody Ford. And one of the things that Cody Ford said, and I think any player is going to have this mentality. It got me thinking about it is all I'm saying is he had talked about the opportunities the Bengals were giving him. And I have the quote right here was and I think they'll give me a true shot. They being the Bengals. I think they'll give me a true shot to be a starter. And any player should be thinking that way. I understand that, but it did, again, had me reflect a bit. You know, if Ford could realistically be competing with Volson or a draft pick. So in reality, the Bengals may think they only need one starting guard. Like it's not ideal, but it feels very possible at this point. It feels like something the Bengals would do. We've seen that at other position groups where you feel like there's a need and they're like, look, we got faith in our guy. So I'm just saying, I'm not.
No, I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
I do think that's the plan.
Yeah.
I think it will be Cody Ford and possibly Cordell Volson in a draft pick. And you know what I would say to that? Thanks. I hate it. I hate it. And it doesn't mean I don't like Cody, and it doesn't mean I don't like Cordell, and it doesn't mean I don't want them to draft a guard. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. You know why? Because right now, there's a scenario, and I don't know it, but let's say Tevin Jenkins does pick the Bengals. Okay. Or they sweeten the offer a little bit or get Joe Burrow on the phone or find a way to get that deal done. Well, if Tevin Jenkins is your left guard, and that's where I would put him, go get Kevin Zeitler. And then have Cody Ford come off the bench. Oh, you're worried about cap space. Oh my goodness. Well, all right. We'll try to trade Cordell, and if it doesn't work, then move on from him. Save $3 million in cap space. And I like Cordell, and I think he's a fine backup. But if that's what's preventing you from upgrading your starting lineup, I don't want it.
I understand.
And by the way, if you do that, let's just say you do that, and you have Cody Ford as your 6th or 7th lineman, and then you draft a guard. Now you're feeling awesome about your depth. Now you're feeling really darn good. but you don't have to draft a guard if it doesn't fall to you. It's not a great guard class. And so that's where I'm at, is it's like, you know what? Make sure you have the best starting 5 that Joe Burrow could ask for. And that does not include, it just does not include, and I'm not trying to be mean, it does not include Cordell Volson or Cody Ford. Doesn't mean they can't be backups. Doesn't mean they can't be part of the team. By the way, you're like your 8th lineman is going to play a decent amount because there's going to be injuries. It's why I want them to add another defensive tackle. There's just going to be injuries. We know it. That's what I would do. And I'm afraid they're going to go the route you're talking about, where it's a camp competition between a rookie, Cordell Volson, and Cody Ford. And I'm just not there. That's not what I would do. They're not paying Cody Ford to be a starter. That's backup money, and that's fine. And that's where I would be with it.
Well, and to your point, I think you can certainly add someone that is of higher, let's say higher rated, higher pedigree, whatever you want to say, and have those people compete. That only makes them better. Sure. Everyone wins. You're more competitive no matter what. I do want to get through some of these chats. First of all, Lorenzo, I know Lorenzo I've met before, and we follow each other on social. And he says, tell Garage Beer to distribute down here in North Carolina. It's getting warm out already. Cheers, gentlemen. By the way, Garage Beer is a sponsor of Enter the Jungle. I know we give a shout out to them all the time. A lot of that is managed through Big Play. Garage Beer doesn't even know I exist, which is weird to say. I mean, Kelsey Brothers took over and they got Hollywood, man. I don't even think these are empty 12 packs. I just had to buy them myself. I don't get anything from Garage Beer. Wish I did, but I don't. But yeah, get it down there in the sky. That seems like an obvious one.
You're making it about you, huh?
I'm not making it about me. Just saying.
Me and Lorenzo follow each other.
I'm just saying I have no way to get it. I would love to get it down in North Carolina. There's nothing I can do. They don't even know I exist. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. Yeah, they do not. Lorenzo, you're the man. Appreciate you.
Yes, we do. Let's see here.
By the way, if I go to North Carolina, it's going to be for some of Lorenzo's cooking. This man is a chef.
He's a foodie.
He's the guy the Bengals need to hire, and the player.
Not
solved.
Yeah.
Lorenzo,
what do you think? What do you think it bumps up to? At least the C? What do you think? I don't know.
The C.
No, I don't know what we're working with down at Paycor.
So whatever. Lorenzo, make it A. You're talking A's, man. This dude, he's in his bag. I see his Instagram. He needs his own cooking channel at Paycor, plus doing all the Paycor food. Yeah, plus Lorenzo, you could sneak me food. They don't let us eat that food. You could sneak me food when I'm there if you're the head chef. We got to work on that.
Lorenzo's Food is now the sponsor of Enter the Jungle. That's what I've decided.
For sure of Enter the Jungle and Cincinnati Bengals talk.
What about this, James? Not seeing this aggressive stance the Bengals said they were going to take in free agency. When do you think that will start? Funny you should mention that, Ashanti. I have a little reel of Duke. I don't know that we'll play it during this. Maybe I've just had it in my back pocket, but it does kind of address this. But James, what do you have to say about this?
How long is that reel? You have it
a minute and a half at most.
Upload it to the video.
All right, I'll put it in here. Why don't you talk to this? And
yeah, look, they're never as aggressive as I would be. And Andrew knows this about, like, I don't say it because like that's just how it is. I think that's how you have to be to win. Now, that doesn't mean reckless. There's a big difference between being aggressive and being reckless. I think I drive pretty aggressively, but I'm not reckless.
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm going to go off camera real quick while you cook for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Like Lorenzo. Yeah. Cook like Lorenzo.
That's great. I love it. I think it's a better angle of my background anyway. I think there's a difference there. And I think what the Bengals would say is, oh, well, we don't want to be reckless. And that's fine, but you can still be aggressive. And that's not to say they aren't, right? That's not to say they aren't. The guard market hasn't moved much in their defense. I think they are trying. And they may very well get it done. It might happen in 1 minute. And so my goal is to be fair here. But to your point, from the combine and Duke's comments, it would have certainly felt like you got T done or found a way to get Trey done. I mean, the numbers that I think it would have taken to get Trey done, I could have given them 2 months ago. The numbers that I think would have gotten T done the moment he was tagged, and maybe before that, but certainly the moment he was tagged, probably could have given them 2 months ago. And so to me, that's what's annoying. It's not free agency yet. Like, I'm not there, but it's with their own guys. Like, is there a way to be reckless with the NFL sack leader? yeah, if you give him a 5-year extension, it's not going to take a 5-year extension to get Trey Hendrickson. Is there a way to be reckless with T? Sure. If you offer him $40 million per year, you don't have to do that to get him. And so I do think that element is there. I also think that at least with Jamar, it feels like Jamar's almost trying to wait right now. And maybe he's trying to wait till they get T done. And then he'll go to the table, which wouldn't blame him one bit. They have the same agent now. And the whole plan has been to sign all 3 of these guys. And that's what's annoying to me. I'm annoyed because of that. And you could say, oh, James, well, that's you. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. Stars don't grow on trees. It's really hard to find stars. We're going to talk a lot about the draft next month and later this month. You know what? It's going to be really, really hard to find the next Trey Hendrickson. Yes, even in this draft class, it's going to be real, really hard. It's real hard. And you have him, and you're trying to win now. And so, yeah, the aggressive part of it is frustrating. You have Duke queued up or no? Are we just not doing it? It's okay if not. You're muted again. Look at you, amateur hour.
Sorry, I had to take everything offline for a second. I had to compress. I ran it through Handbrake. I had to get it smaller because StreamYard wouldn't take it. It's ready. I just didn't know if I uploaded, it might play right away. So,
gotcha.
You want me to play it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll put it in now here.
Yeah,
right.
Put it in. I don't think it'll play until you add it. Like, are you adding a video clip?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a present and just do video because it plays cleaner for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. If it cuts me off, it cuts me off, ladies and gentlemen. But this is Duke Tobin from last month at the NFL Combine. Ashanti asked about it. We might as well use it for context a bit, and then we'll react to it as well. And then we'll get to more of your comments and questions as well.
Hastily put together on my part. It was a bunch of ideas, so bear with us, but it's a minute and a half. It's not long. Here we go. Let's see if it'll play right away.
Cap well, we've got low dead money. We want a high payroll and low dead money so the people that are in Cincinnati playing for us can get all the money. That's what we want. And we're in a position to re-sign these guys. And it's a good position to be in. It really is. And we're going to attack it. And we don't want to just re-sign these guys and pay more for the same football team we had last year. We want to add to it as well. So we want to re-sign these guys, reward them for their ability level, and add to the football team. So it's a tall task. We think we're up to it, and Katie's got us in position to attack it well. Jamar is always going to be our priority. He's a fantastic football player. He's going to end up being the #1 paid non-quarterback in the league. We're there. Let's get it done. The earlier we can do some of this stuff, the freer it gives us to build the rest of the team. We have other needs that we want to build, and so we want to get these kind of things done early enough to where we can really focus on building out the rest of the football team. We know our defense wasn't good enough. It couldn't get stops when we needed it, couldn't protect leads, it didn't get off the field. And then, in critical moments when the game was on the line, it didn't rise to the occasion. We're not happy about it, and we're going to attack the offseason to make sure it doesn't happen again. What gives us confidence that we can pay high levels to our high-level players? Well, I guess it'll just be the proof is in the pudding. What gives us confidence that we can do that? We believe we can do it, and we believe we can fit other things in too. But we'll see how it all nets out at the end. We've managed our cap well. We've got low dead money. We want to.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Oh, okay. There we go. We'll get that off the screen. There we go. There it is. By the way, over 5,000 of you are joining us right now. So shout out to you. Let's dive into that. I led off with it yesterday. Had they just gotten one of these deals done or 2 of these deals done, like let's say Trey and T are done right now, wouldn't be having this conversation about being aggressive. I like TJ Slayton and Oren Burks and Osai and Hill and Piron and Marco Wills. Like those guys make sense. And Mike Gesicki. They make sense for the Bengals. But you have these 3 big questions just hanging over your head. Plus, you have who knows what they're going to do at guard right now. And you have questions about the pass rush still. And yeah, that's why people get frustrated and worry and wonder if they're going to get these big deals done. And I don't blame you, ladies and gentlemen, because I was under the impression, especially when you hear that from Duke, that they would be so proactive with this stuff to try to get Trey done, to try to get T done. And there's a common theme now where this just takes way too long. And it started with Joe Burrow, and it took too long. And it's like, well, maybe Joe's holding it up on his end. And then last year with Jamar, and it just doesn't get done. And it should have gotten done then. It would have been so beneficial for the Bengals to get it done. That didn't happen. And obviously, T never felt like it was getting done until this year. And nothing's done. So that's frustrating, and I get it.
Yeah, cutting that up was a bit of a downer.
Way, it might not be on Duke.
No, and I don't feel that way. I don't look at this and go, oh, Duke. No, I look at that and go, that's that's the face. That's the representation that they want from, let's call it from a PR standpoint, whatever you want to call it. And so I look at it as a collective. This is kind of what we want to put out there to everybody. I don't look at squarely at Duke in that scenario for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't either. I think from a negotiating standpoint, you are a destination. So act like it by aggressively going after the players you want, but by showing them love, not saying, oh, well, you get to play with Joe Burrow if you take this. Like, not that they're saying that, but it would be the other way. Come join a Super Bowl contender, play with Joe Burrow, and we're offering you this. And for some stars, none of these guys, TJ Slayton, Oren Burks, Joseph Osai, BJ Hill, Samaje Pierre, and Marco Wilson, none of those guys need guaranteed money after year one. Like, I get it. But for guys like Tee Higgins, who's 26, who cares if you have to give him that year two guaranteed money and that second season's guaranteed? They give up so much upfront money anyway in signing bonuses that it doesn't make a difference. Like, if that's a sticking point, it shouldn't be anymore with star players. And that's why I knew. They should sign Milton Williams? I didn't do that, even though I certainly thought they should be on him, because you just knew from a guaranteed money standpoint, they would never get there to get into the conversation with a Milton Williams. And that part of it is what's tough, because not that they needed Milton Williams specifically, but you're never going to get in on those situations. And people are going to bring up Orlando Brown Jr. It's a very unique case where he didn't have the market that he thought he would have. He thought he was getting tagged again by the Chiefs. And then he's a smart football player and smart football sense-wise, and was like, oh, you know who needs a left tackle? The Cincinnati Bengals do. And he proactively went to them. And that's just different than you want to be when you're a Super Bowl contender. And so, yeah, they could be a tad more aggressive, I would say, Andrew. And by a tad, I mean a lot.
We've talked about this. You mentioned it. We'll get this out of the way real quick. The T saga, it's not ending anytime soon, is it? Asks Sean. Ooh. Sean, I think, was on last night, by the way. I think, was that a 3-parter question, Sean? I don't remember now.
There was a Sean with a 3-parter yesterday. Regardless, Sean, this is a 1-parter, and it's a good question. It can end quickly. Right. Like, it could come together. Look, no one knows what's going on with T in the Bengals besides like 4 people right now. Like, literally, no. I don't think many people know. I think there is some frustration. If I'm Joe Burrow, I'm frustrated. Right? It's not like you're alone, Bengals fans, in that. And so it could go for a while, or it could come together very quickly. And the reason why, if I'm the Bengals, I'm trying to get it done before tomorrow when the new league year starts, you just want to have a handle on your cap, knowing where it's at, so you can add that extra guard, so you can add that extra defensive tackle or edge rusher, so you can add, heck, that extra corner or safety or whoever that you want to add without thinking about Tee Higgins' cap number. Because the moment he signs an extension, his $26 million cap hit is going to drop. And then you'll have more money to use, more room to use, at least, not more money, but more room to add more guys. And that should be their goal, is to maximize the cap. Everybody has the same cap. How do you maximize it? How do you get the most talent under your cap? That should be the Bengals' goal every single offseason. And having Tee Higgins sit there, even if they get the deal done in June, having him sit there between now and June, that impacts what they're doing over the next week or two, and impacts the Jeff Ruby visits and all those things, which could still happen. I think that they could still be busy in free agency and add some pieces here. But man, it certainly would be nice if they got this T deal done and could get a better idea of where they would be at cap wise, because they could have a plan right now of how they're going to structure this, but until it's done, you don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And I think that's important.
You know, you mentioned something I have not thought about for the entirety of this year's free agency period, or the off season for that matter.
Rubies?
Yeah, there's not that one player, that one moment that you hear about. Oh, Joe Burrow's going to take him out, or whatever. Like,
well, we're
I
just
haven't
not
heard
there
that
yet because we're not there yet.
It's how maybe Burrow needs to take Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins out just to get their players to stay on the team. That's what we've come to. That's what we've come to, James. I do want to get to some other questions. There's a lot of really good ones here. I think this is worth bringing up when we talk about running backs. Of course, the Bengals bringing back Samaje Perine, Chase Brown, of course, still on the roster. Why do you think Zach Moss hasn't been cut for extra cap money yet? I was for sure that the Perine signing meant he was gone. He, being Zach Moss, would be gone.
Yeah, I get that. I do. I think this is a medical issue. He's dealing with a neck injury. They can't cut him right now. He's seeing if he's healthy. It could go a bunch of different ways. Hopefully he does get healthy. Hopefully he can play. I do think he would have been a cap casualty if that's the case. They can't do it right now because he's not passing a physical. So it's one of those things where it's kind of procedural. It shouldn't cost them that badly. It's $3 million in cap space. Shouldn't really impact them. It really shouldn't. But it is one of those things that's lingering, and it sucks because I do think Zach Moss, a lot of people online don't realize how valuable Zach Moss was and still could be if he's healthy for a team. But I think he would have mattered last year down the stretch, and was really, really bummed for him when he suffered that injury.
Yeah. The medical aspect is there's just so much that we can't possibly know right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's a big part of it, like you said. You see some of these, James. You want to flash up one that you're interested in? I've got a lot here. I'm happy to do it unless you were looking at some. I didn't know if that's what you're eyeing or if you're looking for some.
No,
news.
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm always looking for news.
All right. Let's see here. We've got and if you feel like, hey, I asked a question a while ago, we're going to get to as many as we can. Let's see here. How about, this is more of a comment. Giving Joe a $40 million signing bonus. Signing bonuses are why these deals aren't getting done. They're stingy on signing bonuses.
I don't know about that. They gave Orlando Brown Jr. a $31 million signing bonus to get that deal done. So
is it fair to say they're cautious with signing bonuses? I don't know.
No, I wouldn't say that either. I think they like to give money up front, and they don't like to give guarantees in year two. Yeah. So I don't think they shy away from that. Now, it's no, Justin Jefferson didn't get an $89 million signing bonus. Just to be clear. I'll look it up, but he did not get an $89 million signing bonus like up front. What it is signing bonus. Let's see here. Well, I was wrong about that. Yeah, he did. Okay, let's see. It's also a record non-quarterbacks in league history. Either way, the Bengals have. So this is getting into the cash thing. I don't think the Bengals would have any issue doing that with Jamar. And if you did that, if you did the signing bonus like that up front, then it's going to keep Jamar's cap down. So it wouldn't be an issue. So my bad on that. You were right on it. But no, there's no. I don't think there's an issue there. Like the Joe Burrow signing bonus of $40 million, that's not like something that's unheard of. Like it's just Justin Jefferson's was huge. Like for example, Justin Herbert's signing bonus was $16 million. So just because Jefferson's huge doesn't mean that the Bengals are way off. I think the upfront matters for Jamar, but I think the guaranteed dollars, that's why it didn't get done last year. The guaranteed money was not there throughout the deal. It should have been. It wasn't. And that's how you get where you get.
I had a couple of draft-related questions, but talking about a UC player here, guys, do you think it's realistic they draft Luke Kandra out of UC? What are they projecting for him at this point? Maybe second, day two, second?
I could see like third round,
third?
Or like third to fifth round. Yeah, for Kandra. I think Ratledge is really interesting, Booker too. But to your point, man, if you could get Kandra, let's say round 4, you feel pretty good. And that's why this is a really good example, Dale. I appreciate it. If you sign Tevin Jenkins, which we're on Tevin Jenkins watch for those joining us, and you signed Kevin Zeitler, and it could be Brandon Scherf or whoever else you want at right guard, Shaq Mason. I'm open to just a proven veteran guard. But let's go with Tevin and Kevin. You go the Tevin and Kevin combo. Well, then, yeah, Luke Kendrick could come in and compete with Cody Ford for a backup guard job and learn and be part of the future. That's how you build it. And not go with, all right, well, we signed this guard, and then we're going to have Volson and Ford and Kendrick battle it out. Like, I get the logic, but Kevin Zeitler's better than all those guys right now. And you're trying to win right now. And so that's how I would do it. But yeah, I do think that the Bengals could be interested in Luke Kendrick, and they should be. I think he's going to be an interesting prospect and could be a good pro at some point. You're muted again. My goodness. You are just unbelievable.
Sorry, I was doing something with making a sound. Germaine Burton, we talked about this on yesterday's live, so this could be a quick one, but do we think Germaine Burton should be cut?
Should go bye-bye. They don't save any cap doing it. And they drafted him. They knew there could be bumps. And so I understand why they've kept him around. Now, you could debate drafting him, but I understand why they've kept him around. They need him to show it now. He will not be here a year from now if he has another year like he did as a rookie. And I mean all the other stuff, not even production. He's got the talent. He's got to get in gear and do the right things this offseason and play well this year. If he does that, then it proves them right. And that's what he should want to do. He shouldn't care about all the people that are saying obvious things about him. He's been a joke from an off the field standpoint. He just has. He's not handling his business. Got to handle your business. You got to do the basic things. It's part of being having the privilege of playing in the NFL. And so I get why the Bengals haven't moved on. I do. But he can't F up again. This is it. The rope is gone. It is over. There's no equity. It's all burned. It's all over. There's no trust. He's got to earn it back. We'll see if he does.
We had a question previously about Kandra, but Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. Have you looked at him much, James?
Not a ton.
I know of him. I haven't really looked at him much.
No, not a ton. But I do think that there are people that are like, oh, well, he could be they answer at 17, the pass rusher you're looking for. And what's interesting about Ezeraku, if they go that route, is right now you have Miles, hopefully Trey, and that's the elephant in the room, right? Is Trey, and you want to play Miles a lot. I think Joseph Osai has a shot. And then is Ezeraku the guy coming in? You have Cedric Johnson, you like him. And that's why you can never have enough. I'm not going to pretend that I've looked at Donovan Ezeraku super close. I know he's going to probably go in round one. I know was a productive edge rusher for Boston College. Could he be the type of guy that they target because of the athleticism, because of the traits, because of the production? Yeah, I think so. Now, what's interesting, he's 6'2", 248. Are they okay there? Do they want 6'4", 260? And in that part of it, I mean, I'd be fine with it. I don't really care. All shapes and sizes work for me. But Deal, to be honest with you, I'm not all the way in on the draft stuff. Like, I've obviously paid attention. I was at the combine, but I'm not fully vetted all the way to say, all right, well, I would take Ezeraku for sure at 17, or I wouldn't, or here's a trade down candidate, or he's not. I'm not there yet. I do think he's an intriguing prospect and certainly someone that could be the 17th pick, and it would not shock me if in 6 weeks we're talking about him in a Bengals uniform. Man, I thought you were muted again. I'm going to mute for a sec.
Sorry, I was checking online, see if there's any news of anything. How about, actually, I like this one. Can each of you name a dream free agent signing that may seem slightly unrealistic, not our own player? I assume of who's left and available out there right now. I think, James, I would be with what you had said earlier. And maybe it's cheating, but if you're telling me
Tevin and Kevin?
Yeah, exactly.
Tevin and Kevin, baby.
Can we count that as one?
The Tevin and Kevin connection. Coming to protect Joe every day.
I've got
The
that entire
Tevin and
soundbite. I'm going
Kevin
to remix that.
connection. Oh my God, that's so good. I mean,
If it happens, I will make it a song.
The Tevin and Kevin connection, protecting Joe from the prey.
Going to need some auto tune, but we're
a little something.
I hear
a little
something.
I'm a little nasally right now. I got a little build up there because well, you know, hey, look at us. We just crossed over 6,000. Thank you for joining us. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. No, I would do that. To me, it's protect Joe and find a way to protect Joe. And man, oh man, we just keep getting notifications, and I'm wondering. I'm like, oh, is it happening? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? So far, nothing. But that would be two. After that, honestly, I would have said Javon Hargrave, and I still would. If I'm the Bengals, I know he's rumored to be or reportedly agreed to a deal with the Vikings. He's not officially released from the 49ers until tomorrow, which means everything's verbal, which means everything's fair game. I'd call on Hargrave and just say, hey, man, why wouldn't you want to come here, play, bolster our pass rush, show everyone that you could still do it at a high level? So those are some guys that I would certainly be considering. And there are others for sure. I mean, it's a lot of trench stuff. My logic here, I know my rep is wide receiver, weapons, all that stuff. I want to fix the trenches now. And then if the right trench player is there at 17, great. But if it's a safety and he's the top player on your board, or it's a running back or a tight end or whatever, whoever the top player is on your board, if it's substantially different, I don't want you to have to reach. And I've watched the Bengals reach in the past. And when they reach, well, then the other 31 teams are teaching. And they usually get it wrong. And whether it was Billy Price where they reached because they wanted Frank Ragnow or other instances as well, when it's telegraphed and you know what they're doing, it's just easier to get it wrong because other teams know what you're going to do. And if you're the Bengals, fill all these voids, fill all these holes in free agency so then you can draft the best player available in round 1 and beyond. Guard what?
A little commentary. I'm just adding some supporting. I'll pull it up again.
Is guard market expensive right now? Yeah, no, it's not. The guard market isn't moving right now. Will Fries that's it. That's funny money. It was fake. Outside of that, what huge deal? Like Patrick McCarry was a reasonable deal. I don't think the guard market's moving that crazy. Like Tevin Jenkins, offer him 4 years, $48 million. He's 27 years old. Why wouldn't you?
Oh, James, your old friend Becton.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton.
Remind me of this. I was just thinking about this earlier today. I know you were, I don't know how many Mekhi Becton videos we made in this time last year in 2024, but I can't remember if you were thinking of just give him a 1-year deal, prove it deal. I knew it was some level of prove it, but were you pushing for 1 year or were you pushing for?
No, I like the 2 because if you do 2, 1, you could spread out the cap a little bit, but 2, you can, if he does what he did for the Eagles, then you have him for another year. And so that part's interesting too. So yeah, I think
is that real? Is Geno Stone tweeting
it's
about
not real.
Joking?
That's a joke.
Because what he was saying earlier. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
It's nothing. It's not actually about me. It's just because I'm the only one that actually has the courage to say what everyone's thought and just not saying, but it's all right.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? We haven't talked about Trey a whole lot, but when we say opinion, what is your opinion on Trey Hendrickson? There's a lot to say there, but let's go with this, James. Let's frame this in the sense of where we're at today and what's going to move anything as far as a needle with negotiations. Where are you seeing things trending at this point?
Yeah, I think there's a better chance today than there was, say, 4 days ago because of the way the edge market went, because of all of those things. I think that there's a real chance that the Bengals are like, you know what, we just got to figure it out. And that's what they should do. That's what I would do. I would call Trey right now. Maybe I should. Trey, here's 2 years, $64 million.
You're calling me. No, I'm just kidding.
Guarantee. Yeah, right. You wish. It's just one of those things where you get back to the table and you figure it out. Trey wants to be in Cincinnati. He wants to get paid. You want him in Cincinnati. Pay him. That doesn't mean pay him 38. I'm not saying that. It's not going to take 38 million to get Trey. You don't have to beat Myles Garrett money. You don't even have to beat Max Crosby money. I'm confident in saying that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm not. I think I'm pretty spot on here. So no, I would pay Trey.
I want you to be very careful with this next question/comment, James, because I know you could go on for 15, 20 minutes about this.
Oh.
Is it possible that the Brown family just doesn't have enough cash flow to pay these players, especially guaranteed money? Don't just take a little breath. Explain it like you're explaining it to your daughter.
No, I'm
gently. Not when she tried to open the door today without permission.
The piggy bank is full. It's full. There's plenty there. There's plenty to go around. This is a philosophy thing. This is not a cash flow thing. I promise you. They don't like giving guaranteed money because then when they do, you get stuck with guys. Like they could cut Sheldon Rankins because they didn't give him guaranteed money in year 2 and Geno Stone and guys like that if they wanted to cut Geno Stone. And that's why they do that, because it gives them flexibility. And I understand that logic. I do. But for stars, it does not make sense. And that's the difference. I think their logic makes a ton of sense for most guys. For 95% of their signings, you should not have to give guaranteed money in year 2. Love the way they structure it, which is more money up front, a lot of cash flow in the first year of the deal. And usually that's signing bonus and then a roster bonus on the other end. So it's like signing bonus today for Mike Gesicki, and then he gets a roster bonus the third day of the new league year next year. And so in the first year, he's getting $12 million. And that's, the dates might be off on that, but you get the point. And so it's like, man, $12 million first year on a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. Like that's pretty darn good. Get half your money in the first year. At the same time, I understand not giving Mike Gesicki guaranteed money in year 2. Don't have to, shouldn't have to, and they don't. So I get why they structure things the way they do. They just need to bend it for the stars. And I also understand the question about cash because it is a fair question. I've just answered it 1,000 times, and it's no knock on you or anyone else thinking it or wondering it, because it does sound like that would add up. I just know that they do have the cash. That's not an issue. By the way, I could go the other way and say they don't. Some people are saying, stop defending them. I've had people say that. And it's like, no, I'm not defending them. It's the opposite. By acknowledging that they have the cash, that's the opposite of defending them. If I wanted to make excuses for them, I would say, oh yeah, you're right. They don't have cash. And so that's a big difference for me, I would say.
James, step aside. I got this one actually. Says, actually, let's talk cash flow on an actual issue. Does the Brown family have the money to front some of the Paycor renovations? I'm not going to talk about Hamilton County on that. If that's what you're talking about. I just want to talk about the investment in the fan experience. I want to take a moment on that one because I will tell you right now, and it wasn't that long ago. This will tell you when it was actually. There was a time where I was walking around in Paycor at the time, Paul Brown Stadium. There were box televisions in there. They weren't even flat screens. And this was like in the 2010s. You know what I mean? And one time I was at a concession stand and on the TV during the game, I couldn't see the game because Thor 2, The Dark World was running. FX, the channel, was running a movie on the TV. Like just those little things that you don't even think about. I just feel like what they're putting into the stadium is so much better than it was for those that actually attend. But I know it was more about the politics of it with the county and all that. But I feel like it's just gotten better, in my opinion.
It has. It needs to continue to improve. It has gotten better. I went there for the Luke Combs concert last year and experienced the venue element of it. And it is better than the last time I was there from a venue standpoint, but needs to improve. And the county and the Bengals need to work it out and get it done. It's very simple. And the problem is, here, you're going to get me going.
Oh,
the problem is the county got its ass kicked in the 90s. And they negotiated an awful deal. And they got their, I'll say it again, asses kicked in the 90s. And so now they don't want that to happen. And the Bengals have the best deal ever. And it's really hard to come off of the best deal ever. And so that's what's tough. And they got to figure it out and they got to find a middle ground. Because the county doesn't want to get embarrassed, get it. And the Bengals, well, they have the best deal ever. And it's really hard to come off of the best deal ever. It just is.
If they keep the escalator running, I'll be a happy season ticket holder. Hey, I take that
Never gonna
escalator
happen,
right to my
Tyrone.
seats. Riverside.
Never
for
gonna
me,
happen. Never gonna happen. That escalate. You better take the steps. You better take the steps. Although I will say that's not just with Paycor. I was at the Superdome in New Orleans, in 2022 when Jamar Chase had the game-winning touchdown and all that. That place sucks to go through. Like I was not looking forward to the Super Bowl there if they had gone. From a strictly a venue standpoint and getting around, I thought it was going to be a real pain. And not that New Orleans wouldn't be fun and the homecoming and the storylines. I'm not saying that. But like from a literal functionality standpoint, which no one cares about, I understand. But I'm grateful, thankful that that wasn't the year. Of course, great problem to have, right? It's like the Bengals if they sign a pass rusher and then draft one and they have so many interior defensive tackles. They're like, man, what do we do with all these guys? It's a great problem to have. I hope they have it. So there you go. I do not think Ring of Highlights is asking if I think the Bengals will sign Zadarius Smith. I would. He's a really good pass rusher. Edge, someone that can get pressure, getting into the mid-30s now from an age standpoint. I would be in on him because he's going to get pressure. What do they do with Trey? I think that's they would say, oh, well, we're going to pay Trey. We're not going to add Zadarius as well. That's fine. Well, then pay Trey. But yeah, I would be open to Zadarius Smith. I don't think they will, but I certainly would be.
Let's just do a phone check. James, are you seeing anything on your phone?
With Najee Harris headed to the Chargers. By the way, the Chargers stole Najee Harris. Did you see that? It was like $4 million, up to $5 million. I would sign AJ Dillon for the minimum. By the way, that's a guy I would sign. There you go. You want to?
I was wondering what your thoughts were on that. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Ooh,
minimum,
like
minimum, very much a prove it type deal." But yeah, I mean, huge running back could complement what they have.
It's literally what they need between Chase Brown.
Yeah. And then you don't have to, because right now, ladies and gentlemen, they're drafting a running back. Just buckle up, watch. And it might be earlier than people think too. I've been trying to tell people just chill a little bit because it could happen. But yeah. Anyways.
Oh, that's actually a good one. Kyle Juszczyk, right?
Yes. Tight end. I'd use him a lot like Eric All. I mean, I would. I'd be in, Brandon. I really would. I think, and if that happens, I need his wife to hook us up with some fits now. I need some Cincinnati Bengals Talk exclusive stuff for viewers and others. But no, I am on the Kyle Juszczyk. Bring him in. Now, he's going to be a limited role. Like he'll take a little bit of Drew Sample's run probably, give you some of that Eric All as well. But would I be open to it? Absolutely, I would be open to it. I don't think they will, but I would be.
What do you think about Mike Hilton? We haven't really talked about him a whole lot during free agency.
Yeah.
At this stage, I think I know where I was prior to the start of it all, but wanted to see if anything's changed on, is he still gone in your opinion, or what are you thinking?
I think he's probably gone, and I hate it. I really like Mike. I want Mike back. Me personally, I would want him back. I also get what the Bengals are doing, and I look at that cornerback room, and it's young, and you should be spending on your defensive line, and you should be spending on your wide receivers, and you should be spending on your offensive line. So you can only spend in so many areas. I get it. And Mike wants a bag, and he should. He should want a bag. And, man, I would bring him back for the right price for sure. And I think the Bengals probably view it that way, but I'd be shocked if that right price is the same for Mike as it is for the Bengals, So it's unfortunate. I hope he gets his bag. I hope he gets a huge deal, and I can send him a message about it. I haven't talked to him this offseason. I don't want to bother him with an interview and stuff because I just kind of knew, I know where it's going. I talked with him at the end of the year, and I just think we both knew. But yeah, hopefully he gets his bag so I can send him that message.
Question is, any word on Pratt, Germaine Pratt? There hasn't been any movement, whether it's, I mean, we thought obviously a cut candidate, but why, what are they waiting for if that's the case?
I checking stuff just to make sure. You just never know. I would be stunned if Germaine Pratt is on the roster. They may wait. Like, they could wait. They're not going to cut him unless they need the space, first of all. They're still probably hoping to trade him. Hoping. And so you let free agency kind of fizzle and then see if any team's like, yeah, we can use him. At the same time, I think we probably know the answer. And so it's one of those things where I do think he just ends up getting cut. But maybe you get something for him. Like, they would take a 7th round pick in a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. By the way, Bengals, if you get a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos for Germaine Pratt, you better call me, because that's my favorite snack, and I want those Cheetos.
I can start off with this one. Hey guys, James Storts here. Been an everydayer for 2 years. I assume you're talking about this channel, which is awesome. My big question for you guys
he's talking about locked on, baby. Locked on every day.
Are you joking? I don't know what I'm supposed to make of what you're saying.
Clearly, Andrew doesn't listen to Locked On, but you get enough of me already.
How are you a fan? He says, I hate Troy, Katie, and Mike. I will tell you right now, James, whatever compelled you to ask the question, to come on to a show where people are talking about the Cincinnati Bengals in the middle of March during free agency, to a casual fan of any sports team, in the case of the Bengals especially so, can be among the least exciting things, and it hasn't been in recent years. Joe Burrow is a big reason for that. The success of the team in the Super Bowl is a big reason for that. But what compelled you to come on here and ask that question is the very thing that drives, I think, any fan, and what drives me as a fan. You want what's best for the team. You want to see the success. And if you feel like you're being failed, then you're going to keep persistence in hoping that it will come together and things will get right. We've seen much worse off teams pull it together than the Cincinnati Bengals. So you can only hope for the best for your own. That's where I'm at as a fan. And again, same reason you probably asked that question. I'm not going to speak for you, but that's my guess.
Yeah, I think for years and years growing up, you heard, man, Mike Brown doesn't want to win. Can't wait for his kids to get control. And it's just like, look, it's one of these things where they have changed some. They need to continue to change and evolve and adapt. And that's what this offseason is. It's why it feels so big, is because it is that big. Joe's watching, everyone's looking, everyone's putting them under a microscope, and everyone's saying, how are the Bengals going to react? And right now, it doesn't feel great, because the Dolphins and the Colts and I'm trying to name teams, like just random teams. Obviously the Steelers, obviously the Ravens, obviously the Browns certainly would, even though they're a crap organization, and the Browns are a crap organization. But the Chiefs, all these teams would love to have a Trey Hendrickson to pay, and love to pay Jamar. The Chiefs never would trade Jamar. They would never trade Jamar. Tyreek is much different than Jamar. The Chiefs would have never traded Jamar if Jamar was in Tyreek's shoes, just to be clear. Maybe they would have, but they didn't. And now he's here, and now they're built around him. So pay these guys. And I think that's the difference. So yeah, I get the frustration there, James. And I appreciate you being an everydayer on Locked On, and I appreciate you watching here as well on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.
Speaking of Cincinnati Drinking Time Sports Problem, we did not bust out garage beers for this session. We haven't.
No.
For those that are new, that haven't seen before, typically, I think it's usually in January, February timeframe. We've probably done some in after camp and things. We usually have like a chill kind of bourbon night, James and I, maybe others, where we all just kind of chit chat, and we haven't really done that this time. It'll happen at some point.
It'll happen at some point. I don't know when, but it'll happen.
There's only so many days in the year.
No, we're live all week, by the way. We plan on going live tomorrow, and probably Thursday as well. Just so you guys know, that this has been a lot of fun. We're going to wrap up here in a minute. Just get your last second questions in if you have any. If we have any other super chats, I certainly want to get to them, Andrew. But yeah, I think we'll go for another 5 minutes or so. It's almost bedtime in the Rapien household. Not for me. I'll be up. I still have Locked On to do.
James, are you still cashing the Money Mac check?
Yeah, look, I think, I talked to some people at the combine. And I actually have an apology to Evan. I apologize. I'm sorry. Because I don't think it was all on him. I think that there was a lot of stuff that you don't see when you're not an expert at kicking. And I think I've always been a big believer in Evan McPherson. And so I'm not going to stop being a big believer in Evan McPherson now. At the same time, in the heat of the moment at the season, re-nickname, giving him a new nickname, I think he would take that in stride. I don't think he'd be mad at it. I think he would kind of shrug it off. But no, he's still Money Mac, and I think he's going to bounce back. He's literally what's funny is in this era, and you're talking about, I mean, the Enter the Jungle book, the history of the Cincinnati Bengals is that I wrote is above me. The Bengals could seriously have the number one quarterback in franchise history, the number one receiver in franchise history, another top 5 receiver in franchise history, the number one free agent addition in franchise history, Trey Hendrickson, and the number one kicker in franchise history. Like, all of those things can happen. Now, Evan needs to continue to play at a high level. Trey probably already is the number one free agent that they've ever added. Joe and Jamar are certainly well on their way. T needs to resign to get there. I was looking at where T ranks. He has a real chance to be a Ring of Honor guy if he signs, like, say, a 4-year extension. Like, he has a chance to leapfrog a lot of Bengals high-end players and be a top 7-ish receiver or even better than that in team history. So it is kind of weird. I know I'm on a tangent now, but kind of weird that the era that we could potentially be in Bengals history. And that's why, going back to that last comment about hitting the front office, they need to realize the opportunity that they have in front of them. Hopefully they do.
This isn't just a one-off, but Matt here. I remember
Joey
this, Matt.
Bosa.
What's that?
Joey Bosa to the Bills. Breaking news.
Don't start and then pause.
News.
I'm like, wait, what?
Man, that's impacting the Bengals. Joey Bosa. I thought he was just going to the 49ers. 49ers must be broke, I guess, huh?
They've lost a lot. Introduced myself to Andrew while he was working the gated back. Oh, that's right. I remember this, Matt, by the way. Thanks for checking us out and watching us live and commenting. Yeah, I was working my son's basketball game. The gate where people come, you volunteer to help out with sports, and yeah, I probably did let a few people in for free. That's probably right. James wouldn't doubt that. It's just like me leaving the mic on mute, just letting people in without paying the dues to get in.
Man, that's hilarious.
Hopefully no one.
I didn't know I could get into the game for free.
Sees this.
I didn't know I could get into the game for free. That's why I didn't show up.
Oh, that's why you didn't show up.
Took you a second.
Okay, yeah, let's do a. I'm not sure what figured out you can make money live streaming on this show. Love that we figured that out. I don't know what that means, but thanks for being proud of us, and thank you for.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. We need to do more lives. I agree with that. You guys are the best, and I would really appreciate if Andrew was available to do more lives, no doubt.
Much better energy. This was a comment on us recording Enter the Jungle previously. For those that joined, we were recording it and recording our segments to hand off to FanDuel Sports Network. Someone had kept this comment earlier. They appreciated seeing the behind the scenes. Nice. Said it was much better energy. They like that. Calvin says, Bengals fan. Oh, okay. NYC Bengals fan.
All right, Calvin.
Ohio. What's the first home game I should go to for next season? I'm definitely pulling up with my custom $300 team vest. Chat, let's wait. I want chat to chime in on this too, though.
Yeah, let's wait until the schedule comes out in May, just because I would say early. You want to come early just because one, they're going to be in it. It's going to be relevant. There's going to be a primetime game pretty early on. Could be week 1. Certainly week 3 has been like their goal. They've always done that, it feels like. So yeah, I would be in. Like, maybe they lead off at home with the Steelers and it's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Burrow. Like, who knows? Like, there's just too much that we don't know yet. So many unknowns. But yeah, Calvin, be that team vest, that custom team vest. Yeah, that's stay tuned because I want to see the vest. So share it, email it.
Yes.
jamesrap12@gmail.com. There's a link on our channel. Also, stay tuned for the schedule, because once that happens, we can find a time too. And who knows, maybe we'll have a couple events this year. You never know.
Speaking of events, James, will you ever have a book signing? You've had book signings. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I've had multiple. I would love to. I would love to have another one. If you want to sign book, I do sign them and mail them. You can email me as well, or send me a direct message on social media. My email, jamesrap jamesrap12@gmail.com.
I think we should probably wrap here. I'll just kind of pull
More
some
lives.
things here. People just
you're the man. Yeah. Last thing I will, I appreciate all the love. Andrew appreciates all the love. We're going to go live again tomorrow. Andrew doesn't. I'm taking up his whole week. That's the plan. It's free agency. It's a big time. That's why we do this. That's why we're here. So that's the plan. If anything happens, we will be back. Just so you know.
I'll just be sitting here editing.
We are not going away.
And
maybe it's not live. Maybe it's an instant reaction video. Like, I'm not sure exactly how we'll do it.
Right.
But we will have coverage and have you covered. And Tevin Jenkins, the Bengals are in on Tevin Jenkins. Will it get done? When it does, if it doesn't, we will certainly have you covered over at bengalstalk.com. And if they do make a move or two, certainly have you covered right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have over 6,500 people watching right now. Thanks to each and every one of you. For Andrew Fox Miller, I am James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.